So this time we're going to have a little look at creating assembly drawings, and specifically how to create exploded views of our assemblies, and how to insert bills of material into our assembly drawings as well. So the assembly that we're going to use for this is an assembly file which is included with Creo. So we're going to open that assembly now. So if we go open, and it's here, it's in the Mannequin library. So if we double click on the assembly file just to load that in. So this Mannequin is provided with Creo. And I think the thought behind it is it allows you to test your human-sized designs. So specifically, if you were making the cabin of a vehicle or some such thing, you could test the sizes and the reaches and the heights of seating and things like that using this Mannequin. But we're going to actually use it to practice our assembly drawing skills. So this is just a normal assembly. The one slight thing to say about this assembly is it is locked, so we can't permanently edit it. And because it's been locked, it has this slightly odd icon one level down from the assembly icon itself. But if we browse inside there, we can see that it's set up much like any other assembly. Underneath the top level assembly, which is the Mannequin itself, there are numerous sub-assemblies. So within a top level assembly you can have sub-assemblies, or you can have individual parts. It doesn't really matter. The skills that we're going to learn are applicable to both instances. So we have our assembly open now. So we're going to initiate the creation of a drawing of this particular file. So I'm going to go New File, Drawing File. I've got this option selected here, which uses the name of the thing that I'm going to create a drawing of as the name of my drawing file. So it doesn't require me to name the drawing. So then I'll click on OK. And in the last session we created a format file for our drawings. So we're going to recall that drawing format in this particular example. So I'm going to select empty with format, and then I'm going to browse and find my A3 format that I created last time. So open that, and then with this particular format that we created, it quizzes us about our length units. So in this case I'm going to type capital M for meters. And then the revision number of my sheet is going to be 01, and then this drawing number and the cage code I'm just pressing enter on because I don't specifically want to define those. So we've got our blank sheet here, so we're going to lay out a general view in the same kind of way that we did last time. So there's my sheet. So I'm going to click on General View. We're not getting into combined states in this tutorial, so we're not going to change anything on this menu. We're just going to click on OK, but before we do that, we'll say do not prompt with this menu again. So don't show us this particular menu again. So we'll click on OK there. And then my next click will place this general view. So click. Now the view's somewhat obscured there, and that's because we have all our datum features visible at the moment. But if I want to make those invisible, I can just click there where it says select all, and they will all be hidden. And then I need to assess what I need to change about this general view in order to get it looking how I intend it to look. So there's a few things that need addressing here. There's the scale of the view itself, which is a little bit small at the moment given the size of our sheet, so that could do with addressing. There's the fact that our assembly is not in an exploded state, so we'll have to address that. And then there's the angle or the orientation with which we're viewing the assembly, which isn't ideal. So I'm going to address some of those things back in the assembly model itself. But before I do that, I'm just going to OK this view. So I want to keep a view here, but I want to change some of the things about that view. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back into the assembly file. So I'm temporarily pausing what I'm doing in the drawing file. So back into the assembly file, and then I'm going to click on the Manage Views icon here, which opens my View Manager. And then because I've already said I want to create an exploded view, I'm going to click on the Explode tab. And then I don't currently have any user-created exploded views in here, so I'm going to create a new exploded view by clicking on New. And then I don't particularly want to give this exploded view a specific name, so I'm just going to accept the default name that the system has given me by pressing Enter. And then the next step is to position the parts or sub-assemblies within this main assembly in the exploded positions that I require. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on Edit, Edit Position, and then I'm going to select the sub-assemblies in the model tree. So I'm going to leave the trunk sub-assembly where it is, but I'm going to select the left arm, and then I'm going to drag it away from the trunk there. My goal here is to leave some empty space visually between the sub-assemblies, so I've achieved that there. Then I'm going to do a similar thing with the right arm. There. Then I want to drag both legs down, but I'm not going to do them one and then the other. I'm going to select left leg, hold the Control key, and then select right leg. And that selects both of them together. And then I can drag them both downwards. And then because these two legs are visually overlapping in the center there, that's not a good setup for a exploded view on a drawing. So what I want to do is I'll just temporarily deselect these two by clicking on something else, and then I'll go back in and select the left leg on its own, drag it sideways slightly, and then select the right leg on its own and drag that sideways by a similar amount. And then just before I exit, I think what I'll do, I'll drag both legs down slightly more. This is in preparation for the next step that we're about to do. So I'll get the left leg, hold Control, get the right leg, and just drag them down a little bit more. And then if we're happy with that exploded view, I have forgotten something, the head. So let's select the head and drag the head sub-assembly upwards to approximately there. So we're happy with that explode now. So I'll click on OK because I don't want to move any more parts. I'll check that the angle that I'm viewing that assembly from is going to be suitable for my drawing. So an angle approximately something like that for us is fine. It shows that there's empty space between the parts or sub-assemblies here and here and here and here and there. But it's in a slightly kind of 3D orientation, so we can tell that, for example, the feet protrude outwards. So I'm happy with the orientation. I'm happy with the explode state that I've created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Edit and Save. And this will bring up this menu. So what this menu is saying to us is currently you are going to save the positions of the exploded sub-assemblies under a view name EXP 3 0s and 1. But more than that, I want to also save the orientation that I'm viewing the model from, and that will be saved under view 3 zeros and 1. So click on OK, and then I can exit this model. I'd probably close the view manager before I exit the model, and then I'll go back to Windows at the top here and go back into the drawing. So I still have my view, nothing's changed yet, so I need to edit this general view. And the way that we edit a view is you hover over it until you see the box in orange appear, and then you double click on the box. Now we're editing this view. So at the bottom of my standard view orientations now, if I scroll down, my view 1 is clickable. So if I double click on that, the orientation changes to the one that we saved. And then if I go down to view states, I can now load in my exploded view that I created. So I'll say explode components. What explode state do I want to load? exp1, which we just created. And then I have to click on apply to see what that looks like in the actual drawing window. So that looks largely good. So I'll click OK there. The last thing that I pointed out was the scale was slightly small. So the way that I'm going to edit that is I'm going to edit the overall sheet scale for this entire sheet. And then all views on there that don't have a scale override applied to them will abide by this sheet scale. So I hover over sheet scale till it highlights in orange, and then I double click. And then I can enter my own sheet scale. So I think I'll have 0.09 and then enter. So that's largely okay. I may want to reposition this view. So in order to do that, I have to click to select the view and then click this icon here, because all original general views that are the first views placed on a sheet are locked into position. So if I click to unselect that icon, now I can hold and drag my view wherever I need it. So that's the view placed. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to create a bill of materials table. So in order to do this, we need to go into the table tab, and then we're going to load in one of the system provided tables. So I'm going to click where it says table. I'm going to go down to quick tables, and then you need to scroll down till you find the area which has a subheading assembly. So there. And then there are two bills of materials templates. There's one with the row titles at the bottom and one with the row titles at the top. So I'm going to pick this one with the row titles at the top. Then I get a box showing me the size of this table, and I can click to place it. And then in terms of editing this table, there's really not much for us to do here other than edit the row widths. So currently the part names, or part numbers as they're referred to, are too long for their cell. So they're overrunning into the quantities column. So we need to increase the width of this column here, this part number column. So in order to do that, I'm going to first deselect the table by clicking somewhere else on the sheet. And then I want to select one of these cells in the column that I want to edit the width of. But in order to select one of them, I have to use the right mouse button click technique that we've covered several times. So if I hover over a cell that I want to select, let's say this cell, right mouse button until the cell highlights, and then left mouse button. So now I'm editing the cell. And I get some quick access icons that pop up, and this one will allow me to edit the width. So click. So the width is currently approximately 2 drawing units. So I'm going to edit it and make it 2.7 drawing units. And then preview. Yeah, that looks better. So OK. And then we'll do the same thing again, but with this column, and we'll make it a little bit smaller because it's a bit wasteful at the moment. So I'll hover over a cell I want to change the width of, let's say this one, right click until the cell highlights, left click, and then I click on the change width icon. So this one is 3.8, so let's try 3. Yeah, that's better for our purposes. So that's the bill of materials taken care of. The last thing that we're going to look at is adding some annotations, some balloons to the actual sub-assemblies in our drawing view. So there's a create bill of materials balloons icon here in the table tab. So if we click on that, and largely this is going to be fully automated. So if we just click on all, it will label all entries in the bill of materials table. The one last thing that we need to do to this is just click on these balloons themselves and then click and hold to drag them into slightly more legible positions. So this one's slightly outside as well, so if I click to select it, it gets highlighted in green, and then if I hover over the number itself, I get these drag arrows, and then if I click and hold, I can drag the balloon to where I need it. One other thing that you may need to do at some point, although I don't think it's a problem here, but we'll look at the technique. If you need to edit where the arrowhead is attached to the model, so you can see this arrowhead is attached to the assembly of the head there. Let's say I wanted it pointing here. The way that I would do that is click on the balloon, which is not easy to do, so I'll click off this table there. So when the balloon highlights in orange, I can click on it. So click. With the balloon highlighted in green now, or selected in green should I say, I right click until I see this menu, and then I can edit attachment. What this allows me to do, if I sort of illustrate it now, is any edge that I click on the model, so I'm going to click on the edge of this mannequin's cheek, click, the arrowhead gets attached to the model at that point. So we'll do that one more time. So let's say this 2 I want to edit now. So I have to click done. When you're editing an attachment, when you've finished editing that attachment, you have to click done, and now I can select another balloon, so balloon number 2. Click, it is selected because it's green. Then I right click and go edit attachment, and let's say I want this arrow to point here. Click, there it is. And then I finished editing the attachment of that particular balloon, so I click done. And then since I've moved the arrow, I probably would want to just drag the balloon itself as well. So that's largely okay for our assembly drawing, our exploded assembly drawing. But generally it is a good idea to, as well as show an exploded assembly with a bill of materials and some balloons indicating what the components or the sub-assemblies are, it's a good idea to add a second sheet that shows the assembly not exploded, so in its natural manufactured state. So that we're going to add a second sheet to this drawing. So down at the bottom of the screen where it says sheet 1, if you click with the left mouse button and then hold the right mouse button until you see the pop-up menu, although it's not easy to see, let me cue that now. Here we go. So new sheet is what we need. Click. And then units for length are still meters. Revision number of the second sheet is still 1, and then enter and enter for the next 2 options. So now we're on our second sheet. We still have our first sheet saved, but essentially when we create a PDF of this at the end, we will get a single PDF, but this single PDF will have 2 pages essentially. So I want to create another view or place another general view, so I'm going to go back into the layout tab. Click on general view, click on the sheet to place my view, click. This view I want as a front view, so I'm going to double click on front and then OK. And then I want to project some other views away from this original view, so I'm going to click on the view and use that icon there. If you're not sure what the icons are, hover over them for a second and you will get a pop-up tooltip telling you what they actually do. So project. Now I'm going to project away to the side here, and then maybe click on the projected view itself and then project another view off that view there, and then I will probably project from the original view, project downwards like that. And then I will have to shuffle these around, these views, drag them, so select this view and drag it into some kind of empty space. Click on this view and then drag it onto the sheet. Click on this view and drag. Click on this view and drag. Something like that. That's fine. And then one last thing to do, we're just going to put the major dimensions on this assembly. So what is its maximum height? What is its maximum width? What is its maximum depth? So I'm going to use the Annotate tab and the Dimension button. So let's do the length of these shoes. So I'll click on this edge here, zoom out a little bit, and then holding the Control key, click on this edge here, and then to place my dimension text I have to middle button to drop the text, just like when we're sketching and we add dimensions. So I want to put the height of this mannequin, so I'll zoom in again, pick this little edge at the bottom of the shoe, so click, zoom out, and then holding the Control key, pick this little edge here, and then to drop the dimension text I middle mouse button. So we'll do that one last time. We'll get the maximum width of this mannequin, so I'll click on this edge here. Well, let's drag these two edges into the same viewport, so I'll click there, hold Control and click there, and then place the dimension text by middle click, so middle mouse button. So that's largely okay for our kind of general layout of the assembly itself. So we have sheet 1 and sheet 2. So when we get to that point, normally what we do when we create an assembly drawing is we save the assembly drawing, so we click on save. We can't actually do that properly with the mannequin because the mannequin is read-only, so you're not allowed to save any changes to the mannequin file. But what we can do at this point is we can go File, Save As, Export, and then save a PDF copy of the drawing that we've just created. So before we export, I'm going to go into Settings and I'm going to turn the dots per inch, or the resolution, up to its maximum of 600, and then export my work. And then the system will generate the PDF file with the 2 pages that I've talked about, and it will show you what that PDF file will look like. So here's my PDF, and then you're free to inspect the quality of the PDF and just check that there are no issues between the PDF being slightly different to the drawing file. So that's it, that's assembly drawings.